Think of a wildlife documentary. A biologist sits in the brush, tracking a wolf pack to see who leads and how they share food. We can point that same lens at ourselves. Whether it's a morning commute or a family dinner, we are constantly following a set of unwritten social rules. Sociology is the study of those interactions. It looks at the conditions we live in and the results of how we choose to treat one another. But we can't study people the way a chemist studies a lab sample. Molecules don't have moods, and they don't change their minds. In physics, gravity is predictable, but human behavior is flexible. We react, we adapt, and shift our behavior depending on who else is in the room. To make sense of this, we need a way to look at our lives that accounts for the fact that people are rarely as consistent as a falling stone. Sociology functions as its own field of study. It has its own boundaries and specific ways of working, separate from the study of history or the economy. It is a social science. Its focus stays on people, the things we do together, and the way we organize our lives. When a sociologist looks at a group, they focus on how things are, not how they should be. This means they don't label a society as good or bad. They don't try to pass laws or tell people how to live their lives. A philosopher might argue about what is right or wrong, but a sociologist stays focused on describing the mechanics of the group. By putting personal opinions aside, it becomes possible to see the underlying structure of a community without a researcher's own bias getting in the way. This field is a pure science. The goal is simply to gain knowledge. The focus is on understanding how a social system works, even if that information isn't used to fix a specific problem right away. To find the big picture, the study often moves away from individual details to look at broader concepts. If you look at a specific war, you might focus on the dates and the names of the leaders, but a sociologist looks at conflict in general. They look for the common shapes and patterns that show up in many different struggles across time and place. Zooming out from these single events helps us see the universal ways that human beings interact with each other. So, how do we actually find these patterns? It takes a mix of two things: direct observation and clear logic. First, we look at the facts. This involves gathering experiences and data by watching how people actually behave in the real world. Then, we use reason to connect those facts. We use logic to build a theory that explains why those behaviors are happening. This approach helps us find the general rules that govern how groups are built, rather than just looking at the choices of one person. We all do this to some extent. When you sit on a bench in a city plaza and watch the crowd move, you are starting to see the patterns that hold us together. When we observe without judgment and look for those hidden connections, our daily lives become a way to understand why we do what we do.